И сегодня мы будем практиковать с вами разговорную речь на английском. И наша задача сделать это так, чтобы это было без какого-либо сценария, без подготовки, а просто человек, его голова и камера. И я хочу, чтобы мы с вами получили этот опыт, потому что в жизни самым ключевым навыком на самом деле в английском, многие думают, что это чтение, кто-то думает, что это просто умение говорить и отвечать, как на экзамене, или же, например, умение писать, что тоже немаловажно, и все эти навыки действительно играют ключевую роль в развитии ваших языковых способностей, но, тем не менее, нельзя отрицать умение спонтанно выражать свои мысли. Прямо здесь, сейчас. Бум-бум. Потому что в любых жизненных ситуациях, будь то рабочее место, интервью, или же, например, когда вы в университет поступаете, тот же экзамен IELTS взять, и любой кембриджский экзамен, этот навык базовый. И умение общаться просто с незнакомцами на улице, это все про умение действовать спонтанно. И в этом видео я выступлю скорее в роли ученика, который на уровне C2 практикует свои разговорные навыки. Поэтому приготовьтесь. Сейчас будем учиться говорить спонтанно. Well, okay, so here I am speaking English and I don't really have any texts. I haven't really prepared anything, but this is what I'm doing right now. I mean, I'm just practicing my speaking. And yeah, sometimes I may get nervous a little bit because this is my first time doing it on camera, but I guess that is going to work out well because I know that most of the times when I try to practice my English, I came across some problems that were mostly related to this lack of practice. And yeah, that's what I absolutely hate about learning this language. It all comes down to my ability to look for a person who I can practice my English with, and sometimes it is a problem, though I make just kind of probably I'm just making this all up. But I mean, this is the way I feel it in my head right now. My mind is playing tricks on me because we create our own problems and then we're trying to solve them instead of seeing our reality as it is. And when life hits hard, you kind of begin to notice that the solution that you're looking for, in most of the cases, is always around the corner, but you don't really know where to look, and you're a little bit blindsided by everything that is going on around you. So yeah, I guess this is the juice. This is the beauty of life, because it is spontaneous, and there is always this degree of serendipity, and you don't really know what to expect in most of the cases, which is great. I mean, this is what our life is all about. It is about seeing the world as it is and not having any expectations, because with these expectations comes some sort of regret and some sort of disappointment, and sometimes I feel like I'm resenting some change, and I don't really think it's great for me, really, because if it wasn't for change in my life, I wouldn't be capable of doing what I'm doing right now. And I suppose that it is all related to the way we perceive the world and the kind of lens that we have deep in our head. Because what I was thinking recently, I was thinking about this idea of doing something from scratch, starting from scratch, because sometimes life gets boring and you kind of know you have these expectations about the results, what's waiting for you around the corner, and you begin to think, well, probably if I try a bit harder, I may achieve a slightly better result. But then in the end, you feel like, isn't something that I really wanted. So yeah, I guess this is our nature. And at times, partially, I also think it is a very, very subtle lie that we were told, that it's in our nature to have some expectations and some high hopes for our future, when in fact it all boils down to our ability to see it as it is and work with the things that matter the most right here, right now, in the heat of the moment. Because when I understand my priority right now, I know what I have to do, I know what I'm capable of, I understand that I move as a force in this world, then everything gets clearer. I mean, it becomes very easy to understand what you need to do. And in these moments, you feel like you're aligned with the rest of the world. You don't feel like you're detached. You don't have this feeling of being alienated, which is great. I mean, you can feel like you're doing the right thing. And it's strange because sometimes you don't get the idea of what you should do. You don't understand what you're doing, but you just start doing it. You know, you do it before you're ready. You act before you're ready, which is an amazing thing, really. I reckon that, well, I recently heard a very interesting quote, and it wasn't a quote. I think it was just some sort of, I think it was some sort of a motto from John Wick. It was part 3, if I'm not mistaken, but anyway. And it went like this: actions flow from belief, or something like that. Wait a sec, I need to rephrase it. Action flows from belief. Yeah, this is just the way it was. And I was like, that one actually hits hard, because it's true. We act according to our beliefs. But then I thought to myself, well, probably it may turn out to be another subtle sort of lie, because a real belief is all about doing without understanding it. You act first, and then you try to figure out what to do next and what to believe later. This is a real belief. When you act first, and then you begin to kind of analyze it. But we can clearly see that this isn't exactly what's happening these days, and most people are lost because they're too much in their heads, you know? They're trying to think, to analyze, and then they get depressed because there are many reasons why you shouldn't do this or that thing. And sooner or later, they get tired of overthinking, and they just stop pursuing their dreams, you know? They stop dreaming about something great, about some achievements, which is a shame, honestly. I mean, I understand why it is happening, but the nature of it itself is so depressing, really. So that's why we kind of have to tackle it in a way. And I guess that the best way to do it is to add some movement to your life. This is what I decided on doing when I was thinking of choosing my career path, and I decided to be a teacher. So I just really wanted to kind of feel what it's like to have this sort of job. I mean, I wanted to be a blogger. I wanted to teach other people how to speak good English, but I never thought about the complexity of it, because it is all about these different aspects of this job, and sometimes I find it quite hard to kind of encompass it all and kind of put all these things together. But anyway, I think that these days it is working out fine, and I'm doing just fine. And yeah, that's why I'm making this video. I mean, just to show you guys that I can do some stuff, though I don't feel like I'm ready for it. And that's why I want you to get inspired. And I want you to have this spark deep inside of you. And I want you to have it lighten up. Not sure about this one. So I reckon that we have to double check it. But anyway, yeah, to light up a spark deep inside of you. We need to double check this one. But yeah. So yeah, this is just the way it is. And yeah, by the way, I wanted to share one thing with you, and I hope that many of you may actually find it quite useful, because sometimes I work on my language and I do it myself without any extra help, without any tutors. I just love this vibe of chilling out on your own, with no distractions, with no other people around. And when you're just opening a book, you take your pen and you simply kind of begin to work on all these exercises and all these units. I mean, for some people it may be a bit boring, and I totally understand that, because that was exactly the way I was when I was at school. I mean, I literally hated working with different textbooks. I felt like it was such a drag, really. I fucking hated these things. But then, later, I kind of developed this habit. I mean, the way it happened was very strange. So I remember around a year ago, it was at the very beginning of 2025, I guess, I decided to take a break, and I didn't have to work. I was just chilling. And then after a while, I decided to take a look at the things that I really liked. And I wanted to see where my inner impulse might actually lead me. And I was so surprised when it began to lead me towards something related to English. I was like, what the heck? That's curious. Wow, because I had never had this desire to study English using my textbooks, because I have lots of them, but I never kind of, I didn't really want to do it. Unless there was a specific purpose. But yeah, anyway. And I was like, okay, let's try it. So I remember that after a week of my holiday, I found myself going to a coffee shop every day, taking my textbooks with me, and kind of working out what I should do with all of these exercises, ticking the boxes, and doing all of these tests. It was so fun. I mean, it was great. I'm really into playing video games, and I thought to myself that it would be really hard to kind of grab my attention by something else when there are some video games to play and they're so entertaining. But textbooks actually did that thing. They were the ones to break this vicious cycle of me playing video games all day. Well, not all day, but the way it sounds here is just spot on. But yeah. And yeah, I began to kind of like this thing. And after some time, I remember that I had been doing it for around 3 or 4 months. And then I was like, okay, so if I have this interest, why shouldn't I take the exam? So I remember that in May, it was around a year ago. Yeah, I think it was exactly a year ago. I was like, okay, I should take this bloody CPE exam. Okay, let's freaking go. I was like, okay, let's do it. And I started my preparation, and it was around, yeah, I think it took me around 4 months to prepare for the exam. And man, that was hard. I mean, I was working my ass off, really. But I did really enjoy this practice, because it was all about my idea of achieving this perfection. I really wanted to get to this C2 level of English. And then I remember that these months I lived in Rostov, and it was so hot. It was boiling hot outside. And I was like, okay, this is the only thing that I can do right now in order to entertain myself. I was just working I don't know, I was just writing, doing some listening practice, reading these bloody texts. And it kind of worked for me, really, because I didn't really feel like I was bored. Sometimes, after a couple of months, maybe, it may actually become a drag because it becomes monotonous and you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over again, and yeah, it gets a bit boring. But it's not about this idea of entertaining yourself when it comes to the exam, unfortunately. But I think that everything is possible. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that you can actually achieve this level where you're being entertained, you keep your motivation on a pretty good level, and at the same time, you're working towards something great. You're achieving something. The way you can add some element of gamification to your life is brilliant. I think this is the right solution for most of the cases. Yep. So this is just the way it was, and yeah. Then after around 4 months of my preparation, I think it was 3.5 months. So I was working with these textbooks, doing some writing, sending it to my tutor, and afterwards, I remember that I had this feeling. Before that, I had been like, how am I supposed to know that I'm ready to take this test? Because I was always so afraid of taking it. And then I was like, okay, this is the way, this is how it feels. I'll try to describe it to you, but it's really hard to break it down for you because you need to feel it. Because if I say it, then you can actually get, the idea of the way it feels like. But in this case, I think it's going to be different. But anyway, let's try. So, if you want to know whether you're ready to take the test or not, you need to pay attention to one thing. You need to take a look at what you feel when it comes to this idea of taking this test. It's okay, so I'll try to say it in a slightly different way. So, if you feel like you're not giving a fuck, you don't care about the results, you don't care about the outcomes, you understand that you've done so much work that you simply can't fail. But if you do fail, you kind of keep thinking about it. If you do fail, then you're like, okay, I'll do it another time. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is the kind of feeling that we're aiming at, because you understand that you've done so much work and now you simply can't fail. There is no room for failure. There is no room for error. That's the way we say it. And yeah, you just don't care. And it means that you're ready for the test. This is the perfect indicator whenever it comes to your ability to identify whether you're prepared to take the test or not. And yeah, so this is just the way it is. That's how I did it. And I remember that I was a bit anxious about vlogging the whole process, because I thought of making a video about it and posting it. And I was like, what happens if I fail the test? How am I supposed to tell it to my audience? And then when you're truly ready for the test, this fear disappears. It vanishes into thin air. This is what happens to it. And you're like, wow, that is absolutely magnificent. I mean, I've never thought that this could actually happen to me. But anyway, it is exactly how it was. And that was exactly the way it felt. That was exactly the way I felt. So yeah, and then I just went to Armenia. I absolutely hate flying and I am afraid of heights. But it was kind of fun. It was a bumpy flight. I'm not sure about this one as well. But yeah, the turbulence was at its highest, but it was great. Then I ate some Armenian dishes, and I also ate some hinkali. It was absolutely spectacular. And then there was a day before the exam where I went to the city center. When I went to the city center, and I met a guy, and we started talking to each other. It was just a random conversation with two complete strangers, and it was bucketing it down outside, like it was raining, and I couldn't even, call taxi. So we started talking, and it turned out that he was a pilot, and it was great fun talking to him. He was very wise, and I still remember the words he said. We were talking about our ability to paint pictures with words, and our ability to speak, and the importance of it. And he said, if you want to see a real face of a person, like his true face or their true face, there is this phrase, speak so that I can see your beauty. I was stunned. I swear, it kind of hit hard because it's true. I mean, it sounds very poetic, and I think it's beautiful. So yeah, after this 2-hour conversational practice, I went back home, and I remember that I couldn't freaking sleep, because, well, you know how it is. It's just this night before the test, and I was so nervous, but somehow I managed to get some sleep. And then after I woke up, I was like destroyed. I mean, literally, I was wasted. I was beat. So there are all of these synonyms that we can use, and I didn't really want to do anything, but I kind of forced myself to get up, and I took a shower. Then I did some push-ups, some squats as well. And yeah, then after that I began to feel better. And I went to the center, took the test, and then I was laying in my bed for the rest of the day. I don't even remember if I had any energy to watch some films, really. I think I was not in the mood for that. But yeah, I was not in the mood for that. So yeah, this is exactly what happened. I think it's cool when you're capable of telling stories in English, because what else can be better than that? I mean, it's great. Ну что, друзья, такая у нас получилась практика. Никогда я такого формата до этого не делал. Вам сейчас будет интересное задание. Помимо тех ошибок, которые я у себя нашел и в моменте исправил, вы также можете что-то найти в моей речи и поправить меня в комментариях. Пишите. Мы все это потом разберем, потому что живая практика всегда подразумевает, что где-то вы можете совершить какой-то косяк. И как вы видите, даже на уровне C2 такое случается. Когда это в живом формате, неподготовленная спонтанная речь, это самое крутое, что вы можете делать. И в данном случае я желаю всем, чтобы у вас была такая способность разговаривать максимально спонтанно, неподготовленно и действовать тогда, вот то, о чем мы говорили, act before you're ready. Действовать тогда, когда вы еще не готовы. Вот так. Я долго думал, какое же видео записать. А что я просто не поговорю на английском? Почти 25 минут. Вот, друзья, всем хорошего дня. Пишите, если есть какие-то мысли, комментарии, пожалуйста, оставляйте то, что думаете. Понравился ли вам такой формат максимально рандомных мыслей, историй? И как вам вообще эта вся задумка? Мне кажется, прикольно. Это мое первое видео. Всем аллилуйя.